turn back time to the good old days when the mama sang us to sleep, but now we're stressed out. Wish we could turn back time to the good old days when the mama sang us to sleep, but now we're stressed out.
Hey, what's up YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, and I am back with a review. This one, I'm going to be taking a look at the one that's got panned by critics, but for some reason, some people are actually enjoying it, and that is Devil's Third. And just to let you know, yep, I do have an actual copy of the game. I pre-ordered it, and I'm one of the few that were able to get it, an actual physical copy, and not pay an outrageous price for it, though. So, anyway, this game has sort of a very interesting history, though. Originally, it was going to be published by THQ and developed by Valhalla Studio, the same person who helped create the Dead or Alive and the Ninja Gaiden series, though, after he left Koei Tecmo. Excuse me. However, after the financial problems THQ went, the game sort of disappeared off the radar. Most people assumed that it was going to be canceled, never to see the light of day. But at last year's E3 at 2014, apparently not only was the game alive, but Nintendo was willing to back it, and they were going to publish it, though. And this surprised some people, and that the fact that the game did exist and was still alive then. Then came E3 2015 this year, and no word of it came out. This led to, with Nintendo not saying anything about it, other than the fact that their E3 was just really terrible, banking everything on Mario Maker. That's a smart strategy, though. This led to some speculations of the game not seeing the light of day here, or that Nintendo thought it was going to be bad. In fact, there were rumors that Nintendo of America was not going to publish the game, and apparently some Nintendo fans spoke out against this, because some of them remember what happened with Operation Rainfall when 3 of the games that were made for the Wii, Xenoblade Chronicles, Last Story, and Pandora's Tower, when Nintendo said they had no plans to bring it over here, there was a fan outcry against that, and some fans saw that this was Operation Rainfall again, and pressured Nintendo to bring it over, and they didn't say anything for a bit until they finally said, yeah, we're going to bring it over, even though there were rumors going around that Xseed was considering bringing the game over, and the possibility that Nintendo may have damaged their relationship with the company Xseed, though. Of course, this is a rumor, so I don't 100% know if this is accurate or not, though. Then footage and previews of the game started to come out, and based on some of the previews, they were not good. And there were some people were having second thoughts about it, and there was, I think Ichigata, I think that was his name. Correct, right in the comment section if I get his name wrong. I apologize if that's the case. But in either case, he defended the title, still think it was a good game. He thinks that people were playing it the wrong way, all that stuff. And then, basically, when the game came out in Europe, it sold poorly, and the game quietly came out here just recently with only very little copies. I think rumor has it, I think like certain stores carried only 240 copies. I think it was GameStop, though. But in one of the most interesting twists ever, and this is very interesting, though, even though the game has gotten negative reviews, there have been a lot of people who are saying more positive things about it. I mean, I've seen on Amazon, it's gotten a lot of 4s to 5 stars. Now, whether people are actually seriously and telling the truth, or whether they're trolling or not, remains to be seen. You can look it up yourself, and you can decide whether or not. To some people on Miiverse, basically liking the game. I've seen footage of people. I mean, I've seen snapshots and comments on the Miiverse Devil's Third community page that has people really liking it. And having played it too, I I do have to agree, though. It's not a perfect title, but this is the kind of game I've seen before many times where critics pan the game and it isn't that good or anything. But in reality, when people play it, they're thinking, wait a minute, this is not as bad as it is. And this isn't the only game this has happened before. There have been many games that this has happened many times. I mean, Maximo Ghost to Glory and its sequel versus the Army of Zin. Love those. I love those games. It didn't get high reviews from some people, but it was a fun game. It was like a spiritual successor to Ghouls and Goblins. That was a good game, though. God Hand. I mean, I really liked God Hand when it was released back on the PlayStation 2. It was from Clover Studio. The same folks who worked on Resident Evil 4, including, Beautiful Joe, Okami, made this, and it was like one of the few beat-em-ups I like. Sadly, IGN gave it a 3.0, and Cloverfield Studios eventually shut their doors, which I think is really a shame, because that was a good game as well. Mad World, the first Wii game from Platinum, that was an excellent game. The whole SimCity look to it, though. Unfortunately, that game didn't sell really well, and I think that was a little disappointment, too. No More Heroes 1 and 2, personal favorite of mine. I like some of the games Suda51 has done. That's also a good game as well. I mean, unfortunately, that never got attention. That sold poorly. Shadows of a Dam. I really like that game. That was a fun game from Suda51 and Makani. If I'm saying his name right, correct me if I'm wrong. The creator of Resident Evil. A fun third-person shooter game. Unfortunately, that didn't sell well and didn't get really a whole lot of good reviews. And even this year as well. I mean, Mad Max came out, and some critics like Jim Sterling, who I do have respect for, and I do think there are some positions he's right and some positions he's wrong, gave Mad Max a 4 out of a 10, and I disagree with that. Having played the game, it's actually, in my opinion, one of the better uses of a movie license game we've seen for a while. Not since, say, like, The Warriors that came back out, 10 years ago, back on the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox One. So, there are times where I feel the reviewers are wrong, not trying to pull a whole Gamergate crap or anything like that. It's just that I think, when I play it, I just feel this isn't as bad as what they claim it is. And Devil's Third is this example right here. Now, it's not a perfect title, I'll agree, but it doesn't deserve the 3 or the 2 that review critics are giving it, though, okay? So, we'll now we're going to get straight to the review of it, alright? We'll have the pros and cons. We'll start with the pros. First off, I definitely like the over-the-top action, okay? Action in the game, though. If you played some of the other titles as well, some of his past titles like The Dead or Alive, or even the Ninja Gaiden games, I mean, they're those games are over the top, and yet they're just fun. They're just just dumb, stupid fun. And I'm not saying this in a negative way. That's what Devil's Third is. I mean, a lot of the combat and a lot of the stuff is just dumb, enjoyable fun, though. The next thing is solid controls. You know what? I thought the game controlled perfectly fine. I mean, I've invested time into it, both the single player and the multiplayer, and it controls very well. I mean, even playing it on the gamepad, I know he suggested playing on the Pro Controller, but I've been playing it on the gamepad, though, and I didn't find it uncomfortable or anything. Alright, sorry for a little bit of a delay here. I think someone was calling my name, and unfortunately I actually had to hit the stop button on that one, so I apologize for that little delay. So I'm going to okay, so let me try to finish where I was left off. Okay, yeah, the controls. I've been playing, like I said, I played it on the gamepad, and I really haven't had any issues with it. Not really any major issues. Everything works fine with the gamepad, all right? The next one, like I said about the over-top action, the story doesn't take itself too seriously, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, playing some of his past games, I'm not expecting the story to be anyway like Metal Gear Solid or anything. I'm not expecting that kind of game, and that's fine. I don't mind playing a game that doesn't take itself too seriously. I don't mind if it's silly or over the top. Plus, feels like an 80s action flick, and I'm not going to go against that. I mean, some of those 80s action flick movies were good, and that's what the game feels like it, though. The next pro I will say is I like the idea how they kind of mix the gunplay and the melee. I will say the melee works fine. I mean, I really like, it's a kind of like an old school brawler to a certain degree, and I like how the gunplay also works well. Even though with the gunplay you're shooting from a first person shooter, though, it works perfectly. I like that. I like that very well, though. I really do. So that's definitely executed extremely well. So that's good. That is really, I mean, yeah, that's very well. We'll go to the next one, the campaign. I have to say the campaign is fun, and believe it or not, I think the multiplayer is also good. I'm not normally a multiplayer kind of a guy. I'm kind of more on the single player one, but I will say I definitely had fun with both the single player and the campaign. It's one of the few games where you can enjoy both of them. I mean, I really don't feel that with, say, a game like a Call of Duty game. I know some people disagree, but hey, what can I say? Not everyone likes Call of Duty. Some people do, some people don't. And finally, there are a lot of people who have claimed this is the worst looking Wii U game out there, and I have to disagree. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's not the worst looking Wii U game I have seen. I mean, there are plenty of games that look way worse than this. I mean, the reason why I'm saying that is because when Xenoblade Chronicles came out for the Wii, when that came out, though, I remember hearing people saying that, oh, it's the worst looking Wii game ever. And quite frankly, while it may not be the best looking, it wasn't the worst. I mean, when compared to a lot of the shuffleware crap that came out for the Wii, though, Xenoblade Chronicles looked way better than those shuffleware crap. I mean, yes, obviously it showed the limitation of the Wii, but not anywhere near the level of like any like a stupid mini game collection. Plus, it also had basically, you know, the art style made up for it, the voice acting, the gameplay, the solid control. So all that made up for Xenoblade Chronicles. And I have to say, that's the same thing with the Devil's Third, though. I think those certain aspects more than makes up for the visuals not being the best looking game either. So it certainly isn't the worst. Okay, now comes the con part. What don't like? Now, as I mentioned earlier on, it's not the worst looking game out there, right? And I still agree. But it's not the best one either, okay? I mean, if you were to compare this game to, say, like Bayonetta 2 or Super Mario 3D World, or say, look at even the HD remaster look of the Wind Waker, or even like, you know, like Pigma or anything, then I would say, yeah, it's probably not the best looking game out there. Again, going back to Xenoblade Chronicles released on the Wii, though, it wasn't the best looking when you compare it to, say, like Skyward Sword or Super Mario Galaxy 1 or 2. So, yeah, I can see sort of that problem right there. I can see why people certainly has some issues with the game and so on. So, I mean, some issues with the visuals in that area. So, again, like I said, it's not the best looking game on the Wii U. But as I said earlier in the pros, it's not the worst. The next problem is, I will say, is the camera. Here's the thing about the camera, though. When playing Ninja Gaiden, you know, like Ninja Gaiden Stigma, though, back on the PS3, though, while the game was certainly fast-paced, and that was fine, the camera sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes couldn't keep up with the game, and it wasn't exactly perfect in that game as well. So it was just like the speed and the camera angle I felt kind of didn't match as much compared to Devil's Third, where since since your main character, Ivan, doesn't move at a quick pace than Ryu did from Ninja Gaiden, though, the camera is not as big of a problem, though. But even though it's not the big of the problem, it's still not the best, though. It's okay. It's just not, it's not terrible, but it's not perfect either. So there's that one. The next one will be the use of the gamepad. While the game uses the gamepad, the next con, though, while the game does support the gamepad, though, other than off-TV play, I just don't see any other reason to use the gamepad. I mean, the only other time I've seen where the gamepad might come in handy is if you're playing a multiplayer match, but that's only just to type in like messages or something like that. But other than that, the game really doesn't use the gamepad for any other reason other than just off TV play. There's no map, nothing else. It's just, that's it, just off TV play. Just very much like what Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze was. There was really no reason to play the game using the gamepad unless you were playing it for off TV play. So, I mean, it doesn't feel uncomfortable playing it. It's just, it doesn't really use the gamepad for any reason. So any specific reason or anything like that. And finally, I have to say, when compared to the last games that he made, like Dead or Alive and Ninja Gaiden, this game is not as fast-paced. I mean, with those two, is like the action was like going real fast. I mean, all that. And this one, I don't feel that kind of fast-paced. To see his over-the-top action, his kind of style that we saw in those other games, but it doesn't have the kind of quickness or kind of like the fast pace of those type of games. Okay, it moves. It just feels like the game moves a little bit slower than those. I won't say slower like unplayable, just not, like I said, not that fast pace that those games were, like like Ninja Gaiden or Dead or Alive. Overall, I have to say, despite the negative reviews, despite everything that's been said about it, I do like it. I definitely did enjoy Devil's Third, and I have been playing it for a bit, and I think it's a really good game. I just think it's a shame it got all that negative press. I mean, obviously it's not going to be for everyone, but I will say something that might be controversial to some people, may not be for others. So here's what I am going to say, though. I would rather play this over any Call of Duty game. I'm serious. I mean, I had more, as far as a shooter goes, I had more fun with this than I did with a Call of Duty game ever. I had more fun and enjoyment out of that. Call of Duty, I just feel, and again, this is my opinion, overrated. I really feel it is overrated, though, and I had more enjoyment out of the Call of Duty games. I mean, not Call of Duty. I mean, I had more fun with this than I did with Call of Duty. And I will say this. I'm going to say, shame on you, Nintendo. Really, shame on you for trying to throw this game under the bus, though. I mean, it really is a fun game, and this is a fun game, and so is this one, Bayonetta 2, definitely a fun game, and so is this. But you guys didn't put any effort to market these games. You basically I feel like you guys are basically still clinging on this idea that kids and families are the only people that play video games, that is your main audience, when they're not. Video games have become more mainstream now. More and more people are playing video games than they once were. It isn't this kids-only product anymore. You need to broaden your audience. You can't just constantly rely on Mario to carry the weight. I mean, as much as I like Mario games, even Mario has its limits. I mean, we've seen how even Super Mario 3D World didn't sell as much. And also, I mean, Super Mario 3D didn't sell as much as it should have. I mean, I'm not saying it flopped, but it certainly did not sell like in the way like Mario Galaxy did, though. And also, I mean, you guys really need to do a better job with your marketing and advertisement. I mean, you can't just, you gotta broaden your audience. You gotta change some of your approach, though, okay? Because if this is your approach, if this is how you're going to handle a lot of your situations, then it's only a matter of time before it starts eating through your war chest. And when that does, no amount of, excuse me, no amount of relying on your amiibos, the amiibos, or relying on Mario or Pokemon or so on is going to save you. There is going to be a point where it's going to eat through your safety net, though. And when that happens, sooner or later, you guys are going to be irrelevant. And that's really sad. I mean, you guys got to expand. You got to modernize. You got to realize video games are not the kids' only product anymore. We're not living in the Wii era anymore, okay? That era is long gone. You got to realize that if you want to stay relevant, you're going to have to, to a certain degree, compete against Sony and Microsoft, okay? I'm not saying you have to copy everything they do, but you got to understand, if you want to stay relevant, you're going to have to broaden your horizon on a lot of things. You got to bring more games like this, and games like this as well. You got to bring in more than just simply Mario and Zelda and Pokemon, okay? Those franchises, although as great as they are, cannot carry the weight. I mean, sooner or later you got to expand that, you got to really expand that audience, though, okay? And right now, with you guys talking about Codename NX, I hate to say this as a Nintendo fan. I really hate to say this, but at this moment, I could be wrong, and you guys could wow us with Codename NX, but right now, I just don't have a lot of confidence in your leadership, especially Nintendo of America, especially you, Reggie Fils-Aimé. I just don't have any confidence that you guys have learned your lesson. I just feel, like I said this before, you're still stuck in that mindset that you can recapture the audience like you did with the Wii, and I just don't think you can. I think you're going to have to move beyond that now, okay? I hope I could be wrong, but right now, my confidence in your leadership, especially Nintendo of America's leadership, is currently at an all-time low, and that, to me as a Nintendo fan, that's really sad. It might change when the revealing of NX comes out. That's a possibility when excuse me, when you guys finally show it, but right now it's just not there at the moment. Anyway, I will say that Devil's Third is out right now. If you're lucky to find a hard copy, a physical copy, then good for you. Otherwise, you may have to try the sellers on Amazon or eBay, unless you're willing to pay $100. If not, it is available on the eShop, so you could download it there. I heard that's been getting some. I heard some people are liking it though. Anyway, that's my review of the game. My question to you now is, again, my opinion though. But what do you guys think? Is Devil's Third a really good game, or do you think it's bad? Were you able to pick up a physical copy, or did you have to do eShop, or were you one of those people who actually paid on eBay some of the outrageous prices, though? Do you think it's as bad as a lot of people claim it is, or do you think, you know, it isn't as bad as what people say it is? I really enjoyed it, though. All right? I mean, what do you think? Anyway, like I said, like the video. Hopefully you do like it. Leave a comment in the comment section, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you can. I will end this video by showing off footage, both the multiplayer and the single player as well, of me playing Devil's Third, at least give you an idea what the game is. Maybe it will convince you to buy it. Maybe it won't. Who knows? Just take, and like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and of course, you know, leave a comment. Tell me what you think about Devil's Third, alright? Anyway, that's the video. I will switch it over to the other ones, the single player and the multiplayer for Devil's Third. And you guys have a good night, and I wish you all a happy holidays. Bye.